And we are live, episode 3 of Stay Humble Sports. You might notice a fourth person here, Joseph Schlack, joining us for this episode. I'm assuming to talk about his 49ers at some point. I'd be surprised if not, based on the hat and background. But we will be bringing you our top 5 NFL teams heading into next season in this episode. Just for a starter, again, we want to wish you all well during these trying times. But a little bit of news, Owen, from your Houston Texans that, we have to touch on a little bit. Brandon Cooks is now a Houston Texan, brought in to perhaps be the wide receiver one to fill the void of DeAndre Hopkins being gone. And as a Texans fan, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Are you happy?
It's nice to have that kind of talent come to the team, but I just wish it was somebody who wasn't as injury prone as the rest of the receivers that I already have on my team.
Yeah,
that's the only downside of it is his prolonged injury-prone history. But if he can stay healthy, if all of my receivers can stay healthy, you won't hear a peep out of me. I'll be fine.
I think an important note to add is Brandon Cooks is only 26 years old. So, he's just starting to enter the prime, and we've already seen him play with greats like Drew Brees and Tom Brady, and now him and Deshaun Watson have the ability to build something together for the future here in Houston. Dom,
going forward, he's going to be, I think, with Deshaun's connection, as he's growing to be a great quarterback, it'll be his knowledge as a receiver will help Deshaun too.
Yeah, Dom, how do you feel about the move? You like it? Don't like it? In our group message, you said all Texans wide receivers equal DeAndre Hopkins.
That is correct. It's very difficult to replace a talented receiver like DeAndre Hopkins. Now, the way I look at, talented receivers, I don't see Hopkins in my top 2. But that's just me. I'm not going to, I do think
that's
that he is one of I do think he's one of the, more talented receivers in the NFL. And I don't know, Brandon Cooks, Randall Cobb, and Will Fuller. Are they going to... Kenny Stills is Kenny Stills, but
yes,
are they really gonna bring the team over the top? Are they really gonna add superstar plays? Are they gonna have those breakout plays that you see almost every game? If Will Fuller can stay healthy, I'd love to say that. If Brandon Cooks can stay healthy, I'd love to say that. If Randall Cobb could, get a little younger. I would love to say that.
The way I see it, it's about injuries. It's all about injuries.
If
they can stay healthy, we're going to be better.
Yeah, if they can stay healthy, I can see the Texans doing really well this year. But it's going to be really interesting to see how Watson can, form that chemistry with Brandon Cooks. And if he can get that chemistry down before the season starts, we can see some big numbers out of both of them this year.
Yeah, so Joey, I'm wondering, how do you feel about the move for the Texans?
I got to watch a lot of the Texans play during the season because of Broseph over here. I think Deshaun Watson is going to be the better quarterback throwing to Brandon Cooks. Jared Goff was a good quarterback. I think Deshaun Watson has more capability to do more with the ball and be able to fit better passes in there and read the routes a little bit better. So I think it's a good move to fix a pretty big wound. Obviously, it's not going to solve all the problems, but it's going to fill in an important void until they could do something better.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson is for sure an upgrade for Brandon Cooks over Jared Goff. So let's touch on this all-decade team a little bit. I know the starting quarterback was Tom Brady and the backup quarterback was Aaron Rodgers. Are there any changes that you guys would make there?
Okay. Let me start right here. let me start right here.
Okay.
Okay, I get it. Tom Brady, yes, of course. Aaron Rodgers. Okay, I love him. He's a bad man. Okay, he puts up numbers when he's healthy. Okay, but when he's recovering over an injury, I don't know. He just doesn't seem like himself. I don't know. Last season, I think you guys would agree, he wasn't really himself last season or the year before that. Drew Brees, hello,
That's my exact thought.
I think that is the biggest snub of this all-decade team And I feel with all the records that Breeze has broken the past few seasons, he deserves that spot.
Yeah, I mean, that's my exact thought in agreement. Aaron Rodgers, for the first half of this decade, I mean, was entering the conversation of arguably the greatest quarterback of all time, you could have argued, but he still only has one Super Bowl. And so does Drew Brees. And I know Brees might have not come in this decade, but I think Brees has just been consistently a great passer, consistently been on the field, consistently made his teammates better. And Aaron Rodgers hasn't consistently been on the field. I mean, this second half of the decade, what, 2 years were just washed with injury. Last year, that team got lucky to be in the NFC Championship and then got exposed by the 49ers because they didn't deserve to be there. So, Aaron Rodgers would be my 3, but I think Drew Brees is above him.
I agree 100%. Definitely Drew Brees. Right from the beginning, I saw that. It was the first thing I seen about the All Decades team. Instantly, I was like, really? This is how they're going to start this? I can't wait to see what else they have for me.
So, Joey, I know you have someone different than Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with Drew Brees, but we're talking about, this last decade. So I think about who did more for their team during that time. And don't get me wrong, Aaron Rodgers is going to be a GOAT eventually, but if not already, I just don't think he's made. Now, if we're talking about his whole career, then I think that second spot is still close with Drew Brees, but we're talking about the decade. So I have to tip my hat off to like Russell Wilson being that other factor of a player. And it hurts to say it because, he's a divisional rival, but how young he is, and he's only been in the league since 2012, and the things he's doing, he's on pace to have a similar career as some of these players. So I think I would have to kind of sneak him in there. But for the all decade, I would agree with the Drew Brees, and Tom Brady's Tom Brady. So you gotta kind of have to, put him there.
Yeah, I think the thing that hurts Russell Wilson is missing basically the first 2 or 3 years of that decade. I mean, Legion of Boom won the Super Bowl. Russell Wilson's entering his prime now. Arguably could have been MVP over Lamar Jackson last year. And, I mean, if Russell Wilson had just been drafted in 2010, I think you could have had an argument for him to be in that spot. But I think
that's the only thing that really kind of counts him out in my eyes. I think he's a solid player though all around.
So at running back, we have 4, sorry. We have Frank Gore, Marshawn Lynch, LaShawn McCoy, and Adrian Peterson. When I read that, I don't know. I just didn't feel completely satisfied by it. It sounded like we were talking about just the first 5 years of the decade to me. I mean, like, because none of those guys have been top running backs the past 4 years. And I know running backs, it's tough because running backs don't usually stay relevant for a full decade. So a lot of people
That's why a decade was hard. Yeah.
So that's why it's hard to say, well, what's more important, the first 5 years or like the last 5 years? Because there's a completely different conversation both ways. I don't think you can include guys like Zeke or Saquon Barkley who've only been doing this for 2-3 years of this decade. But at the same time, someone like Todd Gurley's been here for 5 years, and his team just didn't have a lot of success, but he was great. But then now he's had an injury that has a sour taste in people's mouths. Frank Gore has just been a workhorse his entire career. I mean, not a lot of people watch Buffalo games, but Frank Gore is still that dude there. And Joey, I'm sure you know as a 49ers fan that Frank Gore, the beast.
Yeah. Yeah, for the way he might not always have a starting role just because of his age, but for how old he is and the fact that he's already broken a lot of these really old records that not a lot of people have been able to even get close to. I mean, and the fact that he still plans to play is a big thing. So I think that's why he's definitely on that list.
Yeah. You guys have any thoughts on Frank Gore, or you want to move on to beast mode?
I think that the list is okay where it's at. Like you mentioned earlier, like all these new running backs like Gurley. The one running back that you may be able to throw in there, but I don't think necessarily he had a lot of issues off the field. Possibly Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, Le'Veon Bell would be my number 5.
Yeah, but I don't really think you can throw him in that top 4. He just had way too many issues, off the field with, with marijuana and stuff like that. And I think the list is good where it's at.
Yeah, I mean, I think Adrian Peterson, a lot of people forget. I mean, just how dominant of a player this dude was. 2,000 yards rushing before.
He was a beast.
I mean, and then LaShawn McCoy. I mean, I know me and Dom may have a little bit of bias towards this, but McCoy on the Eagles was a different type of dude. I mean, he did it all.
Yes,
I'll never forget that snow
The
game
best version
versus
of
the
himself.
Lions. Yeah, I mean, that snow game versus the Lions was ridiculous. So I don't really have too much of a problem with them just because it's so hard for running backs to really get a spot like that when they're usually in and out in 5 years of their prime. So we move on to wide receivers. We have Antonio Brown, Larry Fitzgerald, Calvin Johnson, and Julio Jones. It seems perfect to me.
Wait, say that one more time.
We have Antonio Brown, Larry Fitzgerald, Calvin Johnson, and Julio Jones. The list seems perfect to me. I mean, honestly, I think AB, I'm glad he still got recognition despite the off-the-field issues he's had over the past year and a half. Julio Jones, I mean, him and AB have been battling for 1 and 2 before AB left the league for how many years there. Larry Fitzgerald has just been Mr. Consistency. I saw this crazy stat. Larry Fitzgerald has more tackles in his career than dropped passes.
Yeah, he's
That's
crazy
ridiculous.
athlete, dude. He's Hall of Fame already.
Yeah. And then Megatron, I mean, I feel so bad for the dude to be stuck on the Lions this whole career, but...
The thing about Larry is, he's one of the closer, he's beaten a lot of, a couple of Jerry Rice's records. He's like that. He's low-key our generation's version of a Jerry Rice in a way for how consistent and how hard and physical he plays. He's he's forever a legend.
Yeah, I mean, completely agree. Larry Legend earned the nickname, and it's for a reason. I mean, is there anything that you guys would even change in terms of wide receivers?
No.
I wouldn't change any, but I do have to give some honorable mentions. Some notable guys that could have possibly made the list if it maybe was a little bit bigger. But we're talking like guys like Deshaun Jackson. Come on now, he's a big beast.
Yeah.
With his explosive playability.
Definitely my 5. Yeah.
He's definitely not in the top 5, but with his explosive playability, I think that he does definitely not in the top 5. I'm not saying top 5. I'm saying outside the top 5.
I think DeAndre Hopkins is number 5.
I would say DeAndre Hopkins would be before him. Another guy too, I feel like we're not talking about is Odell. Okay. I feel like Odell has made
Odell. I put Odell in a similar boat to receivers like I would AJ Green. I
think Odell has that same problem that we talked about.
Because and Andre Johnson, who they throughout this decade they had great careers that could have been a lot better with the right person thrown to them or the right other weapons around them. Yeah. I feel like they've been robbed from a career that could have been legendary.
Yeah. I mean, for guys like Odell, like you still have plenty of time to make it up. I mean, he's been a star since a young age. I think he falls into maybe that Russell Wilson category where he just got into the league a little late in this decade. Like
I agree.
Later in this decade.
They'll find it though.
The flex spot, I'm not really sure what they're classifying as flex here. I don't know if their flex is based on like, does it all on the field, or if their flex is like punt.
I think that how versatile they are.
They have Darren Sproles. And Darren Sproles is a great choice, but Dom, I almost wonder if Deshaun Jackson should go here. Kick return ability, punt return ability. I mean, a speedster wide receiver. I mean, we talked about him as one of the most consistent wide receivers this decade. I mean, he's not running the ball, but wide receivers don't ever run the ball, and if somebody do a jet sweep, Deshaun Jackson's up there in that list of guys.
I would think of people like James White up there too.
Yeah, James White
because of them being that half receiving, half power, half elusive. They can block, they can juke, they can run someone over, they can catch the ball. They are good at everything. Yeah, they're good flex spots. Same with Darren Sproles.
Yeah, since Sproles does punt returning and kick returning, I think that's what earned him the nod here. Joey? Any comments on?
Bro, I'm gonna be honest. I'd put Tyreek Hill there before I put a lot. I know he hasn't been in the league long, but he's still a part of this decade. So
like just transcendent at the position.
Yeah. Like I mean, for how hard he plays at such a young age, I mean, he's the fastest player in the league. He'd return it. He could, be whatever you really want him to be. So I know that's kind of going a little out of the way, but.
Yeah, but before 3 years ago, he wasn't even a thought in anybody's mind. In this decade, it's 10 years long. So there's 7 years he missed.
I think he did enough in 3 years.
In 3 years to be 10 years worth of work, I'd have to highly disagree with you.
I think Tyreek Hill could find himself on the 2020 All-Decade team, perhaps.
Maybe in our Madden league where we're throwing for 8,000 yards per season. That's a little different though. 50 touchdowns.
I was being biased because I didn't want to be okay with Deshaun Jackson being there. So
at tight end we have Gronk and Travis Kelce. I mean, I don't really
snub. We got a snub here.
You think that we have a snub? I don't think we have
a snub.
I think these are the two best.
I think we're forgetting about somebody who's been in the league long time, who has
let's see if we agree, Dom.
Has recently retired from the league and then was like, you know what, I want to play football again, and came back to the league. His name is Jason Witten. Okay, he has done it all for the Cowboys.
I don't agree.
He has been their man for oh my, you're ridiculous.
I'd put Jimmy Graham on that list before.
Yes, that's what I was going to say.
Listen, he leads all NFL tight ends in catches this whole entire decade.
I mean, he's also been in the league for
Jason Witten deserves his recognition. Okay, and I think he got snubbed, and he deserves to be in the number 2 spot.
I mean, I think they got it right. I think we can all agree Gronk deserves the number 1 spot.
Gronk definitely that 1 spot.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think Travis Kelce has.
When did Travis Kelce get into the league?
Early 2010s, if not before then.
I thought he wasn't started till later.
I will look it up right now, but
but for them to put him on the list, he had to have at least been early 2010s.
Yeah, no, he's a respectable choice, but like you said, Owen, I was literally thinking the same thing. Jimmy Graham, when he played on the Saints, he was a different animal.
Yeah.
And
he had Drew Brees, he had Russell Wilson, he had Aaron Rodgers.
2013,
and I'm pretty sure they won a Super Bowl together.
2013.
I think
Jimmy Graham won a Super Bowl with the Saints, right?
I don't think Jimmy Graham was a part of that team.
No, he was on the Seahawks, the Seattle's winning team, though.
No, he wasn't on them either.
Man, he missed it by what? A couple years every time.
Yeah, Jimmy Graham was drafted in 2010 by the Saints, and I'm pretty sure they won the Super Bowl in 2009.
Man, but when they're still on, they always been a team that's consistent on making a run for the bowl. And when he was on that team, he was a different breed. So I think he's a respectable person to put at that number 2 spot.
I just think Travis Kelce transcended the vertical threat tight end. And
definitely.
And Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes' run is part of this decade. I mean, 2 years, Travis Kelce has been an absolute beast and just won the Super Bowl,
If they can pull it off again this year and have a good solid season, then his validation for that spot will be earned definitely topped off the right way.
Yeah, so I think we could skip over offensive line unless anybody has any.
I do have an issue.
You have a real gripe with the offensive line.
I do have an issue. Listen, I have an issue with the centers. Okay.
Okay.
Maurice Pouncey.
I think Jason Kelce should be included in that top 2.
Okay. Anyways, next on.
I'm just being honest.
I don't know if anybody's going to debate you on an NFL center.
They shouldn't, because Jason Kelce deserves to be there.
Jason Kelce deserves the number 1 spot from his Super Bowl parade.
If you see this video, he better give you full respect for that.
Yeah.
Jason Kelce deserves that spot just because of his Super Bowl parade antics.
Yes.
So at defensive end, we have Calais Campbell, Cam Jordan, Julius Peppers, and J.J. Watt. Any gripings there?
I love it. I
feel like they did pretty well on the defensive ends there. I don't have any arguments with it.
No arguments, honestly.
Defensive tackle, we have Geno Atkins, Fletcher Cox, Aaron Donald, and Adamaka Sue. Again, I'm a pretty big fan of that there. No one's hopping off the page to me.
Much as I hate
I'm
to see an
a
Eagles
big
fan
fan
up
of all
there,
three
but
of those
I
players.
agree.
What'd you say there, Joey?
I said I'm a big fan of all three of those players. Sue, he was such a big name at first when he came into the league. He's
Stepping on people's toes and what,
Yeah, that was when football was getting good.
I'm looking at linebacker here, and I'm realizing how many guys that I don't want to get hit by across the middle of the field. These linebackers here are Chandler Jones, Luke Kuechly, Khalil Mack, Von Miller, and Bobby Wagner. I mean,
Bro,
beautiful. Honestly, it just gets my blood pumped.
The NFL did
those
a
are
great
your
job.
X Factor players right there, bro. Like,
okay.
Did you guys know something? Did
I
you
know
know that Khalil Mack is considered a linebacker?
Yeah, and so is Von Miller.
Yeah,
but they play the edge very well.
Yeah, edge rusher. They just run in 4-3 schemes.
And
yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm not done yet. I hear you. Yet. And what about Clay Matthews? What about Clay Matthews?
Tell me which one of these guys Clay Matthews is better than. Bobby Wagner, Von Miller, Khalil Mack, Luke Kuechly, Chandler Jones.
If anything, Chandler Jones. If anything.
Okay, wait. I feel like a dummy head. You said Khalil Mack in this list. Oh my goodness gracious! I feel like a dummy.
So,
but you know what? Let's just move on to corners because I don't think I can argue that.
Yeah, corners. Patrick Peterson, Darrelle Revis, and Richard Sherman. I'm surprised Patrick Peterson's on this list. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know who I would necessarily put above him, but his team just didn't win a lot, and usually that's like a huge qualification for a list like this.
Who would you put on? Stephon Gilmore, maybe?
I think I'd put Gilmore above.
In recent years,
Chris Harris.
I think I'd put
Chris Harris is a defensive back, isn't he?
Yeah.
Chris Harris is a cornerback, but I think I would put
Chris Harris.
I would put Stephon.
He was on that. Chris Harris is on that list, no?
He's on the list as a defensive back, as a guy that could play safety or corner. So he's
on
the list.
That's right.
Oh, okay. All right. I see your
because he does.
I knew he was on that list somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'd put Gilmore in over Patrick Peterson. Gilmore's had more winning success
in recent years.
But Gilmore in Buffalo was that dude too. He just got slept on.
But I feel like self-production. If they were going off self-production, Peterson, but team production.
I agree.
Team production, Gilmore's got him, obviously.
Nobody's going to beat Revis Island, though. I'm so glad that Darrelle Revis and Richard Sherman made this list after their trash talk on Twitter that both of them made it. For safety, we have Eric Berry, Earl Thomas, and Eric Weddle. I have a discrepancy. I think Cam Chancellor deserves a spot on this list. I think
100%.
I think Cam Chancellor scared the living hell out of people across the middle along with Earl Thomas. And just because Cam Chancellor didn't play the last 2 years of this decade doesn't mean his 8 years body of work wasn't enough. I mean, you can take out Barry or Weddle. It doesn't matter to me.
He brought that Brian Dawkins fear factor to the team. Like, it's just next level. Like, you are afraid to be on the other side of that ball.
Dom, if you're going to raise your hand and talk about Brian Dawkins.
No.
Okay, let's hear it.
No. What about the guy that the Philadelphia Eagles just let go, who played every single snap? Oh, his name's Malcolm Jenkins.
Here we go.
His name is Malcolm Jenkins. He is a dog, and I think he's better than Eric Weddle. I think he's better than Eric Weddle by far, and I think he deserves the number 3.
I think Cam Chancellor deserves to be on there ahead of Eric Weddle. So would you say that that Malcolm Jenkins is better than Eric Berry, Earl Thomas, and Cam Chancellor, or and one of them?
No, I think Malcolm Jenkins deserves to be on that list.
So
with who?
So which one would he replace?
He would replace Eric Weddle.
Yeah, but if you're going off of my list with Cam Chancellor replacing Eric Weddle, does Malcolm Jenkins still make your list ahead of Eric Berry?
I think he replaces Cam Chancellor.
You think you would take Malcolm Jenkins over Cam Chancellor?
Yes.
That's next level.
Because Cam Chancellor started to die down.
No, Cam Chancellor left.
And Malcolm Jenkins has
been
gone.
He's not in the league.
He didn't die down. He said, "I'm done with this."
But he's done. But Malcolm Jenkins has been doing it since 2010 to 2019.
Okay, he was the Legion of Boom. He was the leader of a Legion of Boom who created the best defensive players. three of the best defensive players in the decade that are
Malcolm
all on
Jenkins
this
has
list.
a ring too, doesn't he?
Yes, he
Malcolm
does.
Jenkins has one, yeah.
Yeah, so does
I'm
Cam
pretty sure
Chancellor.
Cam Chancellor has like 2. Or...
Do you see?
No,
I would rather
one.
face up offensively against Malcolm Jenkins as a coordinator, as a quarterback, as a coach. I get as anybody on the offensive side of the ball.
I disagree.
Over Cam Chancellor.
I'd be
easily.
The Seahawks have. I'm pretty sure the Seahawks have 2 Super Bowl rings underneath that defense and that team.
Just
one.
Just one. They lost.
They almost had 2.
They lost to the
They
Patriots.
lost it
because they didn't run.
the Patriots.
So,
you guys are a disgrace.
Let's just move on to.
You're an a biased Eagles fan. That's
I am not. I know when talent should be recognized.
All right.
Then give Cam Chancellor some credit.
Let's move on to these defensive backs.
It's not.
Let's move on to defensive backs. We got Chris Harris and Tyrann Mathieu. Any complaints?
Sure.
No.
Good.
All right. Punter,
I'm done.
Punters, we got Johnny Hecker and Shane Leckler. Where's Pat McAfee at?
What?
Where's the
Pat
brand?
McAfee should be on there.
Who is Shane Leckler? I don't know who that is. Pat McAfee.
I don't even know.
I'm pretty sure that's Kansas City.
Pat McAfee should be on this list.
He should be.
Kickers, we have Steven
Robbie Gould should be on that list, bro. What
He's
do you
a kicker.
He's a kicker.
Well, Robbie Gould's not on here for
Parker.
kickers either. It's Steven Gostkowski and Justin Tucker. I agree with
See,
those,
that's
though.
trash.
I agree.
That's garbage.
Hold on, guys.
Robbie Gould is just as good as Justin Tucker, so he should be at least right on top of him.
Maybe he's 3.
All right. Well,
I agree at 3. Yeah.
For punt returners, we
I
have.
agree at a solid 2.
For punt returners, we have Tyreek Hill and Darren Sproles, and I think Deshaun Jackson needs to be on this list.
Neither.
For punt returners,
I would keep Darren Sproles there before I put Deshaun Jackson, not being biased on that.
I would too.
Deshaun Jackson needs to. Then Tyreek Hill's got to go. He's only been on there for 3 years. 3 years?
Better than they played.
He's just bro. I'm telling you, his impact is that serious. His impact is that serious that they put him there for a reason.
Deshaun
and that's
Jackson has
he's
1
that
game
good.
for the Eagles on punt returning. Deshaun Jackson has 1 games for the Eagles punt returning.
Yeah.
And he's been doing it for 10 years. And he's been doing it for 10 years. Tyreek Hill's only been punt returning for like 3.
Yeah, but he's been irrelevant for the past 4. And Tyreek
I want you to. We should search. We should search Tyreek Hill's like special team stats, and compare it right now with his 2-3 year career compared to Deshaun.
We're not diving this deep into punt returners. Kick returners, we have Devin Hester and Cordero Patterson. Devin Hester's the GOAT of kick returning.
Yeah, I agree.
Easily.
And for coaches, Bill Belichick, Pete Carroll. I don't have a complaint.
What about Andy Reid?
Sean Payton.
I would go with Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick.
Yeah, I
for this
agree.
decade.
I know. Honorable mention. Sean Payton.
Oh yeah.
Andy Reid.
Here's the way that I think we're going to do this.
I think the only thing that takes away from Andy Reid is just because he only has 1 ring, but he should have at least more than he should have at least 2 or 3.
Yeah. So here's the way that I think it would be best off if we do this. I think if each person says their top 5 and the other 3 react to it instead of all of us going in 5 and people trying to memorize it. So Joey, you're the guest, so we will start with you. Starting at number 5, work your way to 1.
My number 5 is one that I'm still. I don't really know my number 5 yet. I was gonna see what you guys were gonna say because I know my 1 through 4, but 5 is just.
You're on the spot. Decision time. Flip that coin or something.
If I had to put a number 5, I think I'm putting the Titans there.
I don't disagree 100%, but I do disagree about 95%.
I disagree 100%.
Let's hear Mount's reasoning.
It's a number 5. Listen, they got an all-around team, and I think they could pull it together look what they did in the playoffs. They might not have made it all the way, but they were the team that upset teams that they were going to lose to.
Yeah.
I feel like depending what they do with the draft and how they proceed as a team, they are easily could run up for another playoff chance.
Just out of curiosity, who was the other team you were deciding between?
To be honest, I was having you guys are gonna hop on me hard. I was gonna go with Vikings.
I can say that I think you made the right choice in Titans over Vikings.
Yeah, I agree with that, but they should not even be close to the top 5.
Listen, they
I
got.
want Tom to go next.
Well,
I need to hear this.
All right, Joey. So let's hear number 4.
Son of a biscuit. Can we just let you guys go first?
Let's do number 5s and then 4s. And
Everybody
then
do
3s.
5?
Yeah.
All right, Dom.
I just got judged hardcore.
All right, Dom. Let's hear your number 5.
My number 5 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh, that's so cliche. How are you gonna come at the Titans and then say the Buccaneers?
Didn't you? Like 2 episodes ago, you said they were winning the Super Bowl. How are they not your number 1?
And well, because they gotta grow. Like, listen.
So right now,
if we're talking about coming into the season right now with the teams that they have put together, right now the Bucs have that much talent, and they're number 5.
Okay.
They just added Tom Brady, one of the best QBs of all time, throwing the ball to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, 2 plus 1,000-yard receivers last year from a ball that was coming from Jameis Winston. Come on now.
I feel
put some respect on Brady and both of those receivers.
I got you. I'll put some respect on him in a little bit. Owen,
number 5.
Owen, who do you have at 5?
My number 5 is a tie, actually, because I couldn't decide between Green Bay and Seattle. That's either one. I fit that 5 spot. That's how I see it. Tampa Bay, I feel like, has way too much hype around it. No disrespect to Tom Brady in any way, but he's getting old. He's not going to be superstar Brady like he's always been. Even though he does have a great receiving core, this is the receiving core he needed 8 years ago to have a run of a lifetime, which he had anyways. So I just don't – I see a lot of talent and a lot of money. No, not as much as money, but a lot of talent getting way too hype for an offense that may or may not show up the way everybody wants it to.
Yeah, I mean, I like your Seattle pick there. I think Green Bay is about to fall off, to be completely honest with you. But, so, at my number 5, it was close, Dom. The Bucs are my number 6. I just want to say that I had credit for the Bucs somewhere, but they're not in my top 5. They were 6. And number 5, I do have Seattle. I have Seattle at number 5. Seattle's about to get 2-3 running backs back that they didn't have in the playoffs, which I think would have made a huge difference. DK Metcalf showed up in the playoffs, though, looking like a superstar going into his sophomore season, where we see a lot of growth with these wide receivers in that second season.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Lockett's still a speed demon. Russell Wilson's not as old as people think he is. Russell Wilson is in the prime of his career right now, and Russell Wilson could have 1 or 2 more Super Bowls coming his way if things fall right. The defense is still is stout, and it's not Legion of Boom anymore, but Bobby Wagner as the centerpiece of that defense. The Griffins on the team, more Shaquille at corners, doing great, and Pete Carroll is a great defensive-minded coach to bring that team together. I like them at number 5.
I had the Seahawks at number 6.
Yeah, fair enough. Joey, you're number 4 now?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Still, by the way, my number 5. I'm gonna still stand by that, regardless of you guys. Number 4 is where I think I would actually put Seattle. I think they're, they're usually just being a 49ers fan, they're a tough team to, compete with to even make it that much farther into the division. So I think I would definitely put them at number 4 because they either, I feel like each year they progress in certain areas that they were weaker in the year before. So I just think they're just going to keep getting better, and their team's getting younger, and they're getting really great guys coming in at a young age. I mean, like DK Metcalf, he's crazy. He's a beast. And that was just the first glimpse of him. So I would put them at my number 4.
Okay, Dom, you're number 4?
I'm sure a lot of people are going to hate me. A lot of people are going to say that I'm nuts. A lot of people are going to think, no, Dom, I think that they should be higher. But I'm going with it because I think I don't think they're going to be as dominant as they were this past year. And I am putting the San Francisco 49ers at 4.
I knew he was going to say it.
Yes, they made the Super Bowl. Okay, I get it. They deserve to be number 2. Okay, but I disagree. And I think that there's 3 teams that are a lot more talented than them right now. And I think that the San Francisco 49ers are not going to make the Super Bowl next year, this coming year.
Owen, you're number 4?
The New Orleans Saints. Drew Brees is, he's Drew Brees. Michael Thomas, man, dude, you can't argue with it. Alvin Kamara's been on whatever he's been on last year, but once he gets back to it, which he will, he's young. Man, it's that defense. It all speaks for itself. Yeah. I can't elaborate any more than you can just, if you know the Saints team, they're solid in a lot of aspects that keep them up on this top of the list.
So I just want to clarify, none of us knew each other's list coming into this video. But me and Owen so far have been on similar wavelengths, as I have the New Orleans Saints as well at my number 4. I mean, talk about consistency, that's the Saints. Drew Brees back for another 2 years. Michael Thomas, arguably the best wide receiver in the league. Kamara and Latavius Murray back. That offense is going to be rolling. The defense adds a stud like Malcolm Jenkins, a real locker room guy, coming into his later years. Going to finish out his career with the Saints, but he could still play. I mean, played almost every snap for the Eagles last year. And, I mean, you can argue that the Saints, were 2 non-pass interference calls away from 2 Super Bowls, potentially. And, this team has a chip on their shoulder until they get there. Joey, your number 3?
What's that?
What's your number 3?
I'm going to have to go with the Niners on this one. And not just because I'm a fan, but obviously that's the team I study the most. The only thing stopping me from putting them at a number 2 is because I would need to see what they do with this round 1 pick 13, draft pick. So depending what they do with that and what weapon they could get out of that, I think they could be a potential number 2 spot. I think losing DeForest Buckner was a little, that one hurt, but he deserved the money he got offered. And we have so many defensive weapons, it doesn't really take away from much. So I'm putting them at my number 3, and I think they have a good chance at it again.
All right, Dom, let's hear your number 3.
I'm putting the Saints here. This is my reasoning why. I believe that the Saints have a better offense than the Niners. I think a lot better offense than the Niners. I think their offenses don't really compare.
The Saints did just take Emmanuel Sanders from the 49ers. The Saints did just take Emmanuel Sanders.
Brees also didn't come back off of a torn ACL, but...
And I do believe that the 49ers defense is superior. But I don't think the Saints defense. I think the Saints defense is pretty dirty as well. Like they got Marshawn Lattimore at corner. They have Cam Jordan coming off the edge. Like they have a stout group of guys that back there for defense, and I think their head coach is also better. That's why I'm putting the Saints ahead of the Niners.
All right, Owen, you're number 3.
Just to say real quick about Dom's Saints there, I feel like if the offense was to go down in any position, the Saints are kind of screwed. And when it comes to the Niners, they have a lot more depth than St. Louis. New Orleans has on their offense. But at number 3, I put San Francisco.
Of course you did.
How could I not?
No, I probably should have put the Saints somewhere on my list, but I also wanted to go with a team that I feel solid with the Titans, man. I don't know.
49ers, as to say again, their depth just is unmatched with any other offense in this league.
Yeah, it's
kind of crazy. With a new head coach in there that obviously can prove he knows what the hell he's doing.
Yeah.
And with a new quarterback in there with now a chip on his shoulder and a drive to get back to where he once was before. A whole team, honestly, with exception to a few people. They're one to beat. They're going to be one to beat.
Yeah, so again, got to stress this. Me and Owen did not talk before this, but I have the 49ers at 3 as well.
We all almost picked them at 3.
Yeah.
So.
Well, me and Owen have identical lists so far, though. That's the only reason I've just prefaced it with that. But I think one thing that we haven't talked about is this 49ers running game. they have, I mean, a whole backyard full of just running backs.
And we
ready
get
to
Jarek,
handed the ball.
McKinnon back.
Yeah, I mean, just adding more to that. I mean, this team is gonna ground and pound you. When they beat the Packers, Jimmy Garoppolo threw the ball like 9 times that game, and they put up almost 40.
Yeah,
or
blew
40.
them out by like 30, 40
Yeah.
points.
So the offense doesn't have as many flashy names. It's got George Kittle and maybe Jimmy Garoppolo, if you consider that a flashy name. But they got a lot of depth there. They got a lot of receiver depth, a lot of running back depth. That defense is
Debo
stout.
Samuel.
That defense is stout. They lose Buckner, but I mean, their pass rush was ridiculous last year. Losing one guy isn't going to change much. Nick Bosa looks like a superstar already, and I'm sure more improvement is coming this upcoming year. Wouldn't be surprised if he led the league in sacks. Richard Sherman still proves that he can play. Plays more of a zone coverage, but I mean, works for the Niners. Kyle Shanahan is a mastermind when it comes to offense, and I think this team could see themselves back in the Super Bowl.
Definitely.
Joey, your number 2?
My number 2, this was the one that I was fighting with the number 3 spot, but I'd put the Ravens there. I mean, Lamar Jackson, Hollywood Brown, I think they choked up a little bit and did things wrong in their playoff run, but I think they could have also been that team to where if they advanced, I think they would have had, just as good of a shot at beating Kansas City as the Niners, if not a little bit more, because Lamar Jackson is insane, dude. He is a different breed, and regardless of what weapons he has around him, he's his own weapon right there. So I think they're a solid number 2 or 3 spot, so I'm putting them at number 2 right now.
Dominic?
I think we're all going to have the same 2 and number 1. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Ravens here. Lamar Jackson, that's pretty much all I have to really say. But I mean, like, I just the things that he did this season. He
was like Michael Vick.
Yeah, like the only like highlights that like compared to that are Michael Vick's. But I think he's going to continue to grow as a quarterback and as a runner. I mean, whatever you want, like a running back, you know how he is. But whatever you want to say, I just feel like he really needs to protect his body.
Definitely
I'm hoping that he can stay healthy. I think coaches should definitely teach him ways to protect himself, so he doesn't turn into a Cam Newton. But
or RG3, dude. RG3 was an amazing quarterback.
That is true.
Yeah, I'm with RG3 as Lamar Jackson's backup. I think that serves as a great role model of not what not to do, but I think RG3 can be like, listen, dude, like, don't mess it up like I did.
Yeah, because RG3, people don't give him enough credit because of that injury. But if he never got injured, imagine what he could have been today. He could have been just as good as Lamar. It may be even better because of the experience he would have had. He had so much potential, and that injury set him back a lot.
Yeah. So, Owen, you're number 2.
Yep, you got it. Baltimore Ravens. It's just how it is, dude. That's the spot they deserve. They have depth too when it comes to it, but Lamar running that offense and it's different.
So
he's a different type of beast.
I have a different number 2 than you boys.
I have nice.
The Kansas City Chiefs is my number 2.
And I almost was
whack.
To do that.
You just got done saying a little while ago, not on the show, but to me, you said, "Oh, Pat Mahomes is going to be the next Brady. He's going to be the next GOAT."
I think Patrick Mahomes is by far and away the best quarterback in this league.
Listen, you're disrespecting him.
I'm not disrespecting him. You know what I'm not respecting? Their defense. I think their defense this season got hot at the right time, and some of their not-so-big-name players started making some big-time plays. Bashaud Breeland in the Super Bowl? You tell me Bashaud Breeland has a season like that next year. Copy and paste that Super Bowl, and you put it in next season, Bashaud Breeland's a top corner in this league. Is Bashaud Breeland a top corner in this league? Heck no. I think...
Maybe.
I think Tyrann Mathieu is a great vocal locker room
Frank
leader.
Clark,
for
Chris
that
Jones, their defense is so stacked, bro.
Their
They have
defense-
a great team, and it's filled with a bunch of honey badgers,
I clearly
dude.
think. I definitely think their team is great. That's why they're at 2. But I don't think they're the best team in the NFL. And before,
But besides, well, who is Marcus Peters and Earl Thomas there? That's the defense.
Maybe I'm not picking the Ravens. But before we all get to our number one,
okay.
Oh my God! I think I might just leave this. I'm gonna leave this show early.
Before we all get to our number ones, I'd like to take this time to remind everybody watching, like, comment, and subscribe for more sports content like this. So, Joey, your number 1, I'm assuming, is my homeboy in the Chiefs?
Yeah, and I feel like it's the most, like, it's just the smartest decision to make. I don't know who you could put above him. I'll respect what you say, but, just look at the offense, and the offense speaks for itself just in that sense. And I think you're a little bit off with the defense. So I think their defense is just going to get even better. And I think it's good enough the way it is now to still keep them at a number 1 spot. I think they're the best all around team. So I'm going to stick with that.
Dom? You there, Dom?
Dominic!
Dom, you're up, buddy.
Uh-oh. I lost there.
You number 1?
Hey, Dom, are you there?
Oh, sorry. My internet was crapping out on me here.
Don't worry. We saw it all. Don't worry.
We watched your entire reaction. All
but I got my number 1 here. It's the Chiefs. Listen, let me tell you the reason why. When Andy Reid is firing up the team, he looks at Pat Mahomes and he says, "Listen, Pat Mahomes, you should go out there and I want you to score more points than the opposing team. Because, I don't care how you do it. I don't care if you go out there and you play defense. But listen, you got to go out there and you got to score more points than the other team. And Pat Mahomes does it. He puts on a show every single game.
He's a cheat code.
He's a cheat code. Listen, sometimes I think he's just firing the ball up, closing his eyes, and hoping Tyreek Hill just comes out with the ball. But, his arm strength and his ability, his vision, his no-look passes, it's just things that we've never, it's almost like Lamar Jackson, you know how Lamar Jackson runs? It's almost like this is like Pat Mahomes throwing, we've seen throws like nothing like this before.
And he throws it from the side a lot. The way he throws it on the run and everything, he does everything so unorthodox. It's crazy that he makes it work the way he does.
It's art. It's beautiful.
It is. It's beautiful.
If I could marry that man, I would. I'm done here.
Okay. Owen, do you have anything to add about the Chiefs, assuming that they're your number 1?
Pat Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Tyrann Mathieu. If you say anybody other than the Titans, I'm gonna my head's gonna explode.
Titans.
Listen, guys, I got my.
If you say
team.
Philly, I will never do another
babies.
show with you ever again.
Listen, I pulled these pigtails out for the Chiefs tonight. All right.
All right, boys. The moment you've been waiting for. My number 1. The Birds. Not the Eagles. Not the Eagles.
Cardinals.
The Ravens.
The Cardinals.
Okay.
The Ravens.
What I have to say
the Ravens.
You can't come at Dom about Malcolm Jenkins and then pull up this.
The Ravens are my number 1. A different bird. Hear me. Who finished as the 1 seed last year?
Who choked in the playoff?
We're not talking about who's going to win the Super Bowl. We're talking about who's going into next season the best. Who finishes the 1 seed?
The Chiefs.
The Baltimore Ravens. The Chiefs were the 2 seed.
Yeah, the Chiefs.
But good try.
No, you're right. The Chiefs are the best team. Yeah.
Baltimore Ravens.
So they get
finishes the 1
by
seed.
the Titans.
What team had the MVP last year? The Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson. Did they choke in a playoff game? Sure, they did.
How far did that get them?
Did they? Hey, we're talking about going into the regular season. Who the best team is? They were the best regular season team last year.
But you also, when you consider the best team going into the regular season, you think the best team also that has a shot at the Super Bowl.
And I think the Ravens genuinely do have a shot. Lamar Jackson, you don't think he's
at number one though over Pat Mahomes?
Because it's a whole team. Pat Mahomes is the best player in the NFL by far to me. But Lamar Jackson,
I think Pat Mahomes has more of a team behind him than the Ravens.
I'm explaining to you the team that Lamar Jackson has behind him. Mark Ingram at running back. Another year of Hollywood Brown. Another year where they might be drafting a wide receiver.
Not Tyreek.
He's not Tyreek Hill yet. He could be. Anybody think Tyreek Hill is going to be Tyreek Hill after year one? Absolutely not. Mark Andrews.
Nobody's ever going to be Tyreek Hill.
Mark Andrews is a quality tight end going into his second year. I know Dom loves Mark Andrews.
Not Travis Kelce, though.
I love Mark Andrews, but he's not as better than Travis Kelce.
But he's not Travis Kelce, though.
Let's listen to this defense. Earl Thomas. Marcus Peters, Jimmy Smith, Khalil Campbell added to that team. People are just sleeping on that.
Oh man!
Old man that can rush that edge, baby. That's who.
Man.
Old man that can rush that edge. John Harbaugh.
We'll see where he is week 17. That old man.
John Harbaugh. He could have been an all-decade coach of the year. You know, you guys can talk all you want about the Ravens, but I guarantee, going into their last Super Bowl victory over the 49ers, you would have never said that team was the best team going into the regular season.
No.
Dude, what
I'm
do you
sorry.
mean? That team had Ray Lewis, bro.
That team's
and
defense was stout,
but
that team's quarterback was Joe Flacco.
A primetime Joe Flacco.
I'm sorry that I'm sorry that I'm super close to the camera right now, but I just need to check if Dylan's okay. I just need to get in there, check his health, make sure he's
Corona,
good. You all right?
You guys all put the Ravens at 2, and I have them at 1, and you're checking on my health.
You put them over a better. You put the Ravens over a way better team.
You're acting like that. I just said, yeah. The Jacksonville Jaguars, number 1. That's what you're acting like.
I'd be less mad.
I would be less mad.
Lamar Jackson, everyone just said it when talking about him. This league has never seen anything like this besides Michael Vick. And Lamar Jackson.
Straight joystick.
And Lamar Jackson, you don't think he's working on throwing this offseason? Because that's the only notch on his game. He's not the most accurate thrower. If Lamar Jackson
did you see his skills performance?
Listen to me. If Lamar Jackson gets an accurate throwdown, this dude will be ridiculous. You know what you can't teach Pat Mahomes? Lamar Jackson's athleticism.
Lamar Jackson has a better chance kicking the ball and having a receiver catch it.
Yeah. Lamar Jackson, you know what? All I gotta say is big trust. Big trust.
He is good. He is good, but he's not trust. Number 1 spot good.
Well, we'll see. So
we will see.
We'll see if he has what it takes to lead his team to victory.
You know what?
We'll see.
Let us know.
This is what I want you to say when you're commenting. I want you to say, Dominic's list was the best.
No, don't ever say that.
No, I want you to say.
I'm gonna repeat my list right here.
Lying is not okay. We do not promote lying on this channel. Dominic, stop telling me.
Comment, pray for Dylan. Pray for Dylan. Mental illness awareness month.
Oh my God.
He's got mental illness. It's a mental illness awareness month for Dylan Mal.
Yeah.
Donate $1 a day to help this kid get his mind right.
I got hope and belief in Lamar Jackson. But I don't know if you guys have anything left to say. Besides, go Birds.
I do actually. If I could change your number 1 spot on your team on your list, I would honestly put the Titans there before.
That is awful. So
I'm all strapped up. I'm good.
Yeah, coming up in next week, we look to start fantasy football talk and potentially an NFL mock draft. We're getting to that time. The draft is going to happen virtually. Maybe Joey, you'd like to join us for that mock draft episode and make your 49ers pick. Let us know in the comments if you liked Joey or if you hated him. This has been
we will probably bring it back. The more you hate him, the more likely he is to be here again.
Just hate on him in those comments. Just say that Joey is out of his mind. For Stay Humble Sports, we will see you soon.
Peace.
Dylan, you're so cute.